Welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. Have you read a good book lately? That's often said, isn't it? What type of books do take your interest? Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I asked about good books because my guest today is Roy Williams. Roy graduated as a lawyer from Sydney University, being in fact awarded the University Medal in Law, and enjoyed a successful career in the legal profession. But after battling a life-changing illness, and as a new Christian himself in his mid-30s, he took to writing about his faith to hone his own thinking. Fast forward to today, Roy has written 4 books, including God, Actually, In God They Trust, looking at the religious beliefs of Australia's Prime Ministers, Post-God Nation, and Mr. Eternity, the marvellous story of Arthur Stace. And he's also writing, at the present time, the biography of J.J.C. Bradfield. That will fill a hole for sure. I'm looking forward to spending time with Roy later on, and I'm sure you will too. We'll be joined by Dee Uluirewa and the Wesley Impact Band, who will sing I Surrender All. And I'll share some thoughts on a lesson on prayer from Luke 18. But first, at Wesley Mission, we operate a number of retirement and villages for nursing homes. Recently, we arranged for school children to visit some of these. And in the northern suburbs of Sydney, they visited our Wesley Taylor village at Narrabeen. And they asked questions about the lives of our residents. Let's take a look together.
Judith. What year did you come to Australia?
1965.
What made you come to Australia?
Just interest, and I wanted to see somewhere other than England and Europe. So I came to Australia.
Were you alive in World War II?
Yes.
What was it like?
That too was exciting because I was only 9. I didn't ever know anything like it before, so it was all new.
Did you ever get close to a bomb?
Yes. Somebody dropped a very large bomb in the back garden of the house that I lived in. So when I woke up in the morning, there was a great big hole in the ground.
How did you feel?
Excited.
What made it exciting?
Well, I'd never seen anything like that before.
When you woke up to like the sound of the bomb, were you like a bit scared or?
No, I wasn't scared because I'd lived through other bombs going off around me, and so I wasn't really. I'd got used to it by that stage.
What did you do for a job?
I did secretarial work, and I did all sorts of things. I worked for a building society, and I worked for a quantity surveyor, and I worked in a ship, in the ship's office, and all sorts of things as a secretary.
What did you enjoy about working on a ship?
Oh, it was exciting to be on a ship, way out at sea and seeing different places and that sort of thing.
What are you most proud of in your life?
Oh, goodness me. My marriage. Because I married very late in life, and I didn't think I was ever going to get married. And then I met my husband and fell in love with him. He was in the same ship as I was working in, and he was working on the ship too. I saw him across a crowded room.
And what made
And
him stand
I knew
out?
that was the man for me.
What was it about him that made him so special?
The way he looked, and the way he sounded, he had a wonderful voice. And I fell in love with his voice and with his looks.
At what age did you get married to him?
I was 39 and 9 months because he wouldn't marry a 40-year-old.
What advice would you give for a happy life?
To get on well with people.
If you would like to learn more about Wesley Mission, visit wesleymission.org.au. You can find help in our community services, connect with our church and congregations, discover a volunteer role that suits you, stay up to date on the latest news and information, donate to support our work, and help make a positive difference in your community. You can also connect with us on social media and subscribe to receive the latest news and information about Wesley Mission directly into your inbox. Visit wesleymission.org.au.
Don't forget to be in touch if you'd like to find out more about our work at Wesley Mission, or if there's some way in which we can help you or a loved one. The contact details are on the screen now. I look forward to meeting our guests, and I've been looking forward to meeting my guest today especially. I mentioned earlier that Roy began his career as a rather successful young lawyer, but he had a life-changing illness, put down the law books and picked up the pen to write books. He turned to writing, is now an author, public speaker, but he's back in law in a different way as a lecturer at the University of Sydney Law School, and Roy joins us today. Welcome, Roy.
Thank you for having me, Keith.
Good. What drew you to the legal profession in the beginning?
It was really my father who nudged me into it. I was from a family of journalists, in fact. My brother is a journalist, my father was a journalist. I was, to this day, the only lawyer. And it was the natural thing to do for someone with an interest in words and the humanities. Yes. I was never going to be a doctor, so the law it was.
Yeah. And you experienced some success and distinction and become a partner in a firm, so that's important.
I did, and that was great experience for me, great training. I can't honestly say I enjoyed it terribly much, but I certainly learnt an enormous amount about how the world works and how to write, how to mount an argument.
But your world changed as well, didn't it? You went through a time of illness,
yes.
And eventually you turned to writing.
I did. I converted to the faith in my mid-30s, yes, as you said, and for many people in my world that was a surprise. So I didn't come from a practicing Christian family. Most of my friends weren't Christians, so a lot of people were surprised and asked me, what's happened to you, Roy?
Yes.
We don't really understand it. And I realised my early attempts to explain myself weren't very good. So, right, I've got to hone my answer here.
Yes.
As Peter says, you've got to be ready with an answer.
To give a reason.
Exactly. So I took that seriously, and it started out as just a series of dot points, then an essay to myself. Anyway, to cut a long story short, it turned into that, into God actually.
So these books really become a living apology, as far as you're concerned, for the Christian faith.
Yes. It's apart from God actually, it's soft apologetics. The others are biographies and histories, but all the time trying to educate Australians about Christianity, what it actually is. Put aside the myths and legends.
Now, many successful writers have reasons for why they write. And when I look at these books we've got on the left there, we've got the story of a famous... but it's this one that fascinates me as a title. I think of Love Actually, the film. Did you pinch it from there?
I did. I admit it unashamedly. So it came out, I think, 5 years after the movie.
So really what you're really asking is questions about Jesus that people are asking or ought to be asking.
That's exactly right, Keith.
Yeah.
This is what it's actually about. I actually didn't start with Jesus. I started with the concept of a creator.
Yeah.
Creator God.
Yeah.
That's what got me first thinking about religion. Then I looked at Jesus, the history of the early church.
And you've certainly explored the faith of Australian Prime Ministers. That's an interesting theme, especially now as we've got more of an openly confessing Christian than we've ever had, really.
Indeed. Well, certainly the first Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Arguably the first evangelical. But in fact, Australia has a very rich history of Prime Ministers with very strong religious convictions across party lines and going right back to Federation. I found it fascinating and a real eye-opener to look at all that.
But Arthur Stacey's probably, out of all the books here, the one that people will think of when they think of Sydney, won't they?
Oh yes, it's just a wonderful Sydney story. It's got everything, all the big events, both the world wars, the Depression. Wonderful character, Arthur.
What do you prefer to write out of those two? Because they're two very different genres there. One is telling a story through individuals. These are much more reflective, and they're probably deeper books, really, aren't they?
They are. Look, the one that was most fun to write was the Prime Minister's book.
Yes.
It combined for me my two great passions, which are Christianity and politics. So putting it together and having the honour of meeting some of our Prime Ministers, like John Howard, Kevin Rudd, Gough Whitlam when he was still with us. I loved that. I loved trying to tease out of them what really makes them tick.
So, do you think your legal training has helped you when you start to write?
Oh, unquestionably. What you're really paid for as a lawyer is to write things down with precision, or to say them with precision if you're a barrister. And therefore, it's great training. I don't think it's any coincidence that in the history of the Western world, lawyers have been predominant in politics.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's all about words.
Tell us about Bradfield, because you're writing about Bradfield.
Yeah, wonderful character. Australia's greatest engineer, arguably. Designer of the Sydney Harbour Bridge, of course, but also the Sydney railway system. He was a Queenslander, actually.
Oh, you don't need to bring that into the story.
It's from Ipswich. It's very much a tale, son of British working class parents, scholarship boy to Sydney University, great Anglican, by the way.
So we look forward to seeing that when it comes out. Roy, thank you ever so much. Will you hang around for a few moments, and I'll talk to you a little bit in just a few moments. It's been great to talk to somebody about what is their passion. Please welcome now Dee Uluirewa singing I Surrender All.
Over the years of Wesley Impact, Keith Garner has had hundreds of conversations sharing stories of hope, resilience, love and the Christian faith. Perspectives on Faith and Sport is a collection of inspiring and insightful conversations with people who are champions in their field, including Commonwealth Games gold medalist Deb Lovely, tennis great Margaret Court, Olympic swimmer Elka Whalen, long distance runner Eloise Wellings, Olympic gold medalist Duncan Armstrong, and two-time boxing world champion Nigel Benn. Each conversation shares a unique perspective on sport and the achievements of notable sporting greats, and collectively presents a broad cross-section of athletes and how their faith has changed their lives. Perspectives on Faith and Sport is the second instalment of a 3-part series and is available now from Wesley Mission. To find out more, contact Wesley Mission on 02 9263 5555 or email impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
As is often the case, Jesus introduces a parable with some simple and straightforward words, and they help us to both understand its theme and apply it to our own lives. Jesus told his disciples this parable to show that they should always pray and never give up. Some versions use the words never lose heart. We live in a world where quick solutions are the name of the game. However, in this parable on the theme of prayer, it's not quick solutions, but persistence that reaps the greatest reward. Let me read to you from Luke chapter 18, 1 through to 8. Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. He said, in a certain town there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared what people thought. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with the plea, grant me justice against my adversary. For some time he refused, but finally said to himself, even though I don't fear God or care what people think, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice, so that she won't eventually come and attack me. And the Lord said, listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones, who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, they will see that they get justice, and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? After all, Jesus sometimes prayed at night. It's not strange that the concept of people praying all night. We know in the Garden of Gethsemane, the result was the need to continue on the journey to the cross for him. The pattern of persistence is a very necessary pattern in prayer, and it's a necessary feature of the ministry of Jesus when we look at it, when we consider it in its fullness. We remind ourselves that Jesus was teaching the disciples here, not the crowds. So often parables, it's to the crowd or people who felt this way or that way. But here he's talking to the disciples. And he uses the example of a widow to teach them something very profound. The widow in the parable had justice on her side. The widow had no power in the world on her side, but she seeks the power of justice, which is interesting when we've talked a little bit about law just a few moments ago. However, justice often comes to those who continue to appeal for it. Jesus teaches that God will grant justice to his own if they're prepared to persevere and not to give up. This is an argument from the lesser to the greater. We have the contrast between an unjust judge and a persistent widow. I think that's a marvellous pattern about prayer. That if God is going to be understood in any way as responding to us, it is our faithfulness, our willingness to persist that will make all the difference. To find ourselves in a place where we're not going to give up if somebody doesn't respond to us immediately. To think that human experience, and it relates, of course, to a widow and to a judge, can be applied to a greater picture, which is the picture of God's providence and God's care in our lives, I think is a marvellous lesson. And it has much, much to teach us. So what we see here is Jesus saying to us, in our lives, all of us have things that confront us, present themselves to us. And if we're going to in any way find ourselves responding to God's will and him responding to us, it will be because we don't give up. We keep at it. We persist. We persist even when everything seems to be against us. Now, the disciples, I don't know what they would be thinking at this time, but I do know that they would remember these kind of words later. If it's only a short time later, they'll be facing the realities of facing up to the passion, the suffering, and then after Jesus has died, learning to live out and bear out that witness day by day. Look back, remember the stories. Remember the things that Jesus taught us, and as they remember this story, it would be imprinted, I think, upon their spirituality, imprinted upon their whole philosophy of life. And when in a short period of time, really within 20, 30 years, the Christian community is being persecuted, they have to persist, they have to keep at it. And we've just learned something of people who have maintained a presence in our own Australian community. And for many of them, persistence was so important about an idea, a philosophy, a thought. When you're in leadership, how important it is to persist and not to give up. And I think this is really such an important message for us to learn in our Christian discipleship. So what about you? Are you in a place where you are inclined, tempted, pulled away, as it were, and tempted to give up? Well, persist. That's what Jesus is saying. And really, he reminds us in this parable of what the judge might say in this situation. Even if she's going to wear me out with her constant asking of things, if that's going to happen, I'm going to make sure that she gets justice. And God does respond to us, and does respond to us when we're prepared to be persistent. So this was a lesson for the disciples. It's a lesson for me, and I suspect it's a lesson for you. What does the lesson have to teach you about life and about those things that are so important as you seek to live out the Christian life? We meet people every day at Wesley Mission, and one of our greatest encouragements is to say, don't give up.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A 5555, Sydney South 1235, or you can send us an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on social media. You can also connect through Keith's blog and stay up to date on all the latest news and information from Wesley Mission, wesleymission.org.au.
If you've got any questions about the Christian faith or anything you've heard on this program today, please don't hesitate to write to me. The details are on the screen now. Here are some of the events that we've got coming up here at Wesley Mission.
Wesley Mission is holding a Wills Day on Thursday the 31st of October at the Campbelltown Catholic Club, where you can have your will professionally prepared by an independent solicitor from as little as $60. Bookings are essential, so please visit wesleymission.org.au/wills to reserve your appointment. The 106th Annual Wesley Fair is coming up on Thursday the 7th of November. This event is a highlight on the Sydney CBD calendar and features amazing entertainment, a fashion parade, an exciting auction and much, much more. By coming to the fair, you'll not only find great bargains, but you'll also be supporting the refurbishment of the Wesley Edward Eager Centre for the homeless. Wesley Conference Centre is one of Sydney's premier conference venues. Our centre's wide range of multi-purpose conference rooms is fully supported by in-house catering and our on-site audio-visual team. The Wesley Conference Centre is your ideal CBD venue for all your conference needs.
Thank you for joining us today. Before we finish, I'd like to continue the conversation just very briefly with Roy with my question. Roy, if someone's listening to us today and they want to pick up a pen and pursue a career in writing about their faith, what would you say to them?
Do it by all means, but do it for the love of it. It's not easy to get published, particularly a book. Start perhaps with an article, and don't expect to make a living out of it. Do it for the love. Do it because there's something inside you that you really want to communicate to other people.
There's no Rolls Royce outside, is there, from your journey in today?
No.
But tell me, then, if somebody's thinking about that, they're going to have to do the Jesus thing, not give up, aren't they? They're going to have to.
I was rejected by 36 publishers. I had a perfect set of rejection slips before finally
Make
someone
a book out of the slips.
took up God, actually.
Yeah.
It's not an easy road in that sense, but it's a very satisfying one.
But thank you very much for doing this, and we want to encourage you, and we're looking forward to reading that Bradfield piece when that comes about. Thank you for your time at home, wherever you are, watching this programme. I look forward to seeing you again at the same time next week. God bless you from all of us that share together here at Wesley Impact. Great programme, great guests, but most of all, we're glad that you share with us on this programme week by week.
Wesley Mission provides more than 800 home care packages each year to families and individuals. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.